Our attention goes to the English Channel. Throughout the day, GBNews has been reporting on the fact that 8 boats have crossed over from Calais and the north coast of France today, totalling another 350 migrants entering this country unlawfully. So this goes just to show the significance of tonight's votes and why it matters. But what should we make of the situation in the Channel? With me now on my panel is former editor of The Sun, the legendary Kelvin Mackenzie, and the historian and broadcaster Tessa Dunlop. Kelvin, you've been around politics longer than I have. Have you seen repeated efforts to control issues of illegal migration fail?
Yes, and I suspect that we're going to see, when this bill finally sails through later on tonight, at the beginning of this one failing. I didn't agree with the lawyer, the lefty lawyer on there.
Shoaib Khan.
Because actually with Ukraine, the people were coming in and they were going back. And in fact, there's lots of examples. I can think even within my own family who took them in, and now they're heading back, often for holidays and stuff like that. It's an amazing thing we've done, and that's great. These people are coming here and they're staying here, and they're going to, and whether they're going to bring anything to our country, I don't know. But what I do know, and I do agree with that guy on one point, is that our nation has turned out to be a magnet for every single problem around the world. We cannot cope. We're a small island. Let France, which has 5 times the space, let them have them all. I'm quite happy for that.
Tessa Dunlop.
What staggers me is to watch this existential Conservative Party crisis play out, both in Westminster and then in its television overspill, GBNews, and in you all are fighting away blindly with each other like this, occasionally coming up for air and back at it, even when we know that the final result is a fait accompli. It will pass tonight, the final vote, despite all the hot air that's come steaming off the rebels' bald heads, and in the end, it will fail, it will bounce back against the courts, and there will predictably be an election. I don't understand why it's this hill the Conservatives had chosen to die on. This is the one thing they can't renege on. They renege on HS2, they renege on North Sea drilling, they renege on schools, they renege on the NHS, but on a few immigrants coming across the Channel, they will die on that hill.
By the way, it's not a few, by the way. There's about 200,000. If you want them all living down your road, why don't you just say so?
Funnily enough, my brother...
Do you want them? What are you going to do with the 200,000? What would you do with them? Do you want more of them, or do you want less of them?
Funnily enough, my brother houses a family of Ukrainians.
Well, so what? I'm asking you whether you do.
No, I don't, because I don't have the space. I live in London. He lives in spacious Scotland, and it works incredibly well.
Well,
and it's
my family has a Ukrainian in them, right. But what we don't have, and I wouldn't want it, and my family do not take in tens of thousands of people that come from a long way away with a lot of cultural baggage which we don't possess.
So what are you saying?
Cultural baggage.
You take a white European, but you wouldn't take...
I would take a white European who wants to go back to their nation. I do not want to take a bunch of Syrians or a bunch of Afghans, which is what the lefty lawyers...
But you said Syrians...
No fleeing. No refugees. We have done our bit, and what's happening in the world, it's so dangerous. Hold on. It is so dangerous out there that every single country in the world says the place we must get to is get to the GB. Right.
What do you think, just pausing, allow me to ask one question of you, Tessa. What do you think, though, this idea that the country isn't necessarily full up, there's space in parts of the country, but there's a feeling that our public services are overwhelmed and can't cope with people arriving here?
Can
they cope?
But it's several things.
That's what
One, the idea that a spurious vote on Rwanda for a scheme that is going to get us illegally enmeshed in a fight once again with Europe is going to somehow deter the few asylum seekers that are trying to cross the Channel.
So why do you think they're few?
Why don't we, for example, with the case of Afghanistan, where we went in and we fought on their soil,
taken 14,000 from Afghanistan,
inviting many of them to interpret, to give us safe homes, to look after us when we were in their country.
14,000 is not a few.
Well, guess
do you
what?
think that's a few?
Kelvin, let us finish.
14,000 relative to the numbers who have been left in limbo, many of them waiting in places like Pakistan, now about to be rejected back out of Pakistan. Actually, it's not good enough.
There is a moral duty to something like interpreters in Afghanistan.
Thank you very much. And actually, I find...
We have taken the moral high ground, and we have 14,000 sitting on
I feel deeply uncomfortable in the 21st century, sitting beside you, off-air uncomfortable around you, but to hear you on live television...
Why don't you leave then, Tessa, if you feel uncomfortable? I feel very comfortable listening to your liberal ranting.
Between a white Christian, predominantly European country, and those coming from countries where the majority are non-white. It was what you were inferring.
No, I was saying the Ukrainians, they come and they go, right? These people all want to come here and stay. I say we can't come.
I say, well, the Taliban's in charge in Afghanistan. I welcome any Afghan who can prove that they helped us when we were in their country.
Quite mad.
I have not gone mad.
Quite mad.